What's up, everybody, and welcome to the very first Pigskin in the Mosh Pit podcast. That's right. And I'm going to introduce to you guys right now the panel. First off, lead singer and frontman of Doom Candy and Jeffrey Nothing, co-founder and ex-lead singer of Mushroom Head, Hatrix, and Purgatory. We bring you Mr. Jeffrey Nothing.
How you doing, my brother?
What is
Good to
up?
Getting ready for another exciting Browns game.
Hell yeah. Also, we got lead singer and frontman of One Life All In, ex-lead singer of Run Devil Run, Foose, and of course the Spud Monsters. We got Mr. Don Foose. What's up, guy? What's happening?
My man, Big Bri from Level Up Cleveland, the best podcast in the land, and Jeffro Nothing. Look at that.
And award-winning.
Right on. Hell yeah.
I also got drummer of tribute bands Made in America, Wall of Sleep, The Mob Rules, also sports writer for over a quarter of a century. He's been written for the Plain Dealer. He's written for the Lorraine Morning. He's going to have to tell me what the name of that paper is. I didn't write it very good. But anyways, he wrote for them too and a whole bunch of other ones. His name is Mr. Dan Gilles. What's up, Dan? I couldn't remember the name of the paper he wrote for. There's a whole bunch of them.
What's up? What's up?
How you doing, brother?
What's happening, man? All right. So this has been a long time. We've been in the works talking about this thing and putting this thing together. And here we are now. And this is going to be something a little unique, I think, for all of us as we're talking sports and not music, which is what we're all always doing is talking music. But here we are talking the Browns, and it's a kind of an interesting time because the Browns are 15 games into the season already, and they are 10-5, and we are not used to being in this situation at all. Are we, guys?
No.
No, and yeah, go ahead.
Now, since about 2007, I think it was with Derek Anderson. And
Derek Anderson.
Jeff Fisher screwed us.
Yeah, I was just watching some highlights from that year. That was a wild team. That was Winslow. That was Edwards. That was it was actually a pretty talented ball club, actually.
And what's crazy is we were the least injured team in football. Now we might be the most.
Yeah, and we're going to have to talk about that because that is definitely one of the craziest things about this season. And being 10-5, you really got to ask yourself, like, what would their record be had they not been as banged up? Just half of the injuries, you would think, definitely. How much better of a team would they be?
56% of the cap is on injury reserve.
Is that what it is now? 56%?
Yep.
Probably more now with Hopkins being out.
Hopkins and now DTR.
DTR just got put on IR. He's done.
Yeah.
And isn't that ironic how that happened? How that was just like, like, oh, let's throw him out there, garbage time type situation. You're thinking at the time when they're throwing him out there. And he not only does his season end up ending because of it, but we have to throw the starters back out there because they couldn't hold off the surge, right?
Yeah. Schwartz was not happy.
No, that was a terrible. That was actually not a good part of the game, obviously, and it ends up being really bad. So what do you think about the kicker situation? What do you guys think about the situation where they get a guy? His name's what? Patterson, right?
Raleigh.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. Patterson, right?
People thought he was a starter in Detroit.
He was in Detroit, yeah.
Well, we just lost Dan. Let me get him back.
I felt like he was doing pretty
Dan
well.
Said he couldn't hear it.
There I am.
You all right? You're back?
Yep.
What do you think about this guy? What do you think about the kicker, real quick? I mean, are you guys thinking like this? What do you think about Hopkins? You know what I'm saying? I mean, here's a guy, we were kickerless, and all of a sudden we get this Hopkins guy. Nobody thought nothing of him. Turns into the best fucking kicker in the entire NFL. How does that happen, right?
I feel like he was doing great, and you shouldn't try to overdo what you're doing. You should have let the other guys try to chase that guy down instead of running the length of the field and messing up his groin.
Yeah, there's an unwritten rule that kickers and punters are supposed to get in the way, but get out of the way.
Yeah,
You know.
you're right. Yeah, and you know, but there's such irony behind it. Don't you think that, like, in a whole season, how many kickers really get injured in the entire NFL? And in a season where your entire team is completely decimated and you're on this run, your kicker goes down and your punter the same day. It just seems so impossible what we're watching. But here it is. Like, we're watching it, right? I mean, doesn't it seem crazy? Every day, every game is the same insanity.
Oh yeah.
So the way the rest of the season's going, you could almost watch this Patterson. He's going to go out there and he's going to hit like a 63-yarder to win this game on Thursday night.
Yeah.
That would be the way the Browns season's been going.
Yeah, right. Next man up.
And luckily, I believe he's capable. He had a pretty good amount of kicks made for kicks attempted for the Lions.
Yeah. So let me ask you something, Dan. Let me ask you a question real quick. With all the injuries, that you've seen here throughout the year, and I think it's almost seems unprecedented, you know, in some way. The level of these players that we're watching getting hurt here. Of all the players that have been hurt, if you could bring back two of the guys just right now, bring them back and they're ready to play right now, who would those players be? Now, we already know Chubb's one of them, so you're going to say Nick Chubb is one of them. So,
Chubb's one.
So who's the other guy you would bring back?
I would normally say Watson, but Flacco's playing so well, it's like you don't want to mess with that. So I would go with probably Jack Conklin, just to solidify that line.
Interesting. Jeff, same question to you. Who would you bring back?
I mean, Chubb's a given, so I would say I want to go with two others besides. And I'm in the same vein of what Dan said, but I'm more with DeJuan Jones than Conklin.
Yeah.
And I also say Grant Delpit.
Yes.
Yeah, Delpit would be one too.
Same, Don, how about same question?
Yeah, Chubb, definitely Chubb and Delpit were my two. But that, you know, the offensive line, like DeJuan Jones was like what a blessing, you know, and he's holding it down like against JJ Watt. I mean, come on, you know.
I gotta say the three that I would say is Jones, Chubb, and Delpit. They were definitely having killer type seasons. Jones was coming out of nowhere, and he just seemed like this wall.
Yeah,
right? Like he was like a wall. Now,
he was like a man among boys.
Yeah.
Guy's giant.
Conklin, same type of thing, though. You know,
yeah, but Conklin's always getting hurt too. You know, so
he has
him and what's his name?
Cedric.
Oh well, Wills. I'm not so bummed out that he's out.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
Neither am I.
He's doing decently though for him.
Yeah.
I just want to say hi to Square Table Degenerates. They're watching us, and they got a bunch of comments up here. And Lep from Leprechaun. I was just telling you guys about Lep. Thanks, guys, for checking it out. I don't see any other comments, so if you guys want to comment, Danny Cleveland's up here too. If you guys want to comment, go ahead, comment away, ask us some questions, whatever, participate. We're gonna have a good time. So we had an interesting game this past week. Got to say, it was pretty interesting, right? I mean, we saw some records being broke. We got it. This Flacco's kind of bizarre, isn't it? Is it the same for you guys as it is for me? Isn't there kind of like a bittersweetness going on here, like a tug? There's like a slight tug that's going on while you're watching this dude do this stuff, almost like it's so. How much more Browns is it that we signed this guy to $230 million? Like we finally just say, fuck it. We're just going to go crazy, sign this dude up and just go for it. And then the savior comes in the shape of Joe Flacco.
Yeah, this old
38 years. Yeah, 38 years old. They pay him the minimum to get him on the squad real quick, and he turns into the guy that we couldn't seem to find for 25 years.
Well, isn't that just Cleveland?
That's what I mean.
The blue collar town. We're not about, you know, Flacco and all this. You know, it's homegrown, and I mean Flacco's not homegrown, but he's, you know, coming in bare minimum, getting the job done. And look at that game. I mean, this past game, there were three real big MVPs in this game. Amari Cooper, Zadarius Smith, and then, you know, Flacco. And Zadarius Smith had 3 sacks, only 2 counted.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and then
plus he hit the
Flacco was
arm
off
on
the
the
hook.
pass.
What's that?
Plus Smith got the quarterback's arm on the one pass, and that fluttered away.
Led to the interception.
Yeah, exactly, and that was an interception. That's
Yeah.
another turnover. But you know who really disappointed me was Martin Emerson. 3 holding penalties and 3 that weren't even called. He was getting burned left and right. And for me, he's one of my favorite guys in the secondary. And it was just really a bad outing for him. But, you know.
Yeah, it was like the safety we finally let go. He was here a few years, and last year he couldn't stop getting penalties. I
Yeah.
can't remember his name right now, but
Sendejo.
Oh,
Yeah,
Andrew Sendejo.
always getting burned.
No,
Yeah.
Sendejo was only 1 year. He was-
Sendejo is what I called him.
Yeah, he was here in 20.
Yeah, we got him from the Ravens.
Yeah, he was here in 20. This guy had like dreads or braids. He was like number 32 or 33 or something. He was a safety.
Oh, you're talking about Carl Joseph?
No, same year. He was only here in 20.
Uh,
I'll look him up.
yeah.
It was like he's the guy that bumped the guy on the sideline against KC, and then the coach got into it with him, and he got thrown out of the game.
Buster Screen, that dude.
Nope, that's way before.
That's
I know
old.
who you're
Yeah.
talking about, though.
Remember that dude?
It's
Remember screen door.
yeah,
That's
I'm
great.
gonna look him up.
I love that.
Ground safety 22.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. After watching that game last night, you got to wonder with the Browns surging right now, and kind of really, especially with the defense the way they're playing, you could think that they could go deep into the playoffs. And to be honest with you, the way Baltimore just fucking dismantled them last night at San Fran, man, do they look impressive. So you can just see the drama unfolding right now with these playoffs, and you have the Baltimore Ravens and the Browns at some point meeting up, and you got the Flacco situation going back to Baltimore, and the whole thing. It's just going to be like these playoffs could just be so on top of the fact that they're good enough to go all the way. The drama is going to be insane. Not that I'm a big drama guy, but you can just see it unfolding, right? I mean, am I crazy?
Well,
It's-
there
it's-
is script writers in the NFL. They're certainly going to script it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
well,
It's a
Kansas
little
City
bit-
hasn't been that impressive, really.
No,
Look at
they're
Baker
having a
Mayfield
down
has
year.
better stats this year than Patrick Mahomes, which is crazy.
It really is.
It already really revolves around Kelsey, and teams are starting to stop him, and then they have like rookies or maybe receivers. But the guy I'm thinking of was Ronnie Harrison Jr., which is funny because
Yeah.
it's Ronnie.
Oh,
Hickman
that
now.
dude, yeah.
Yep,
And we beat San Francisco too with a practice squad quarterback, so it's really dependent on defense against them.
the whole AFC North beat up on him. 3 of our teams beat
Yeah.
up on him. So, I mean, I like that matchup if we make it to the big show, you know?
No, I do too. I do
Because
too.
our defense, it's all these defenses that are pressuring the quarterback, you know? That's where it's at. And nobody could get through like Baltimore's got an insanely amazing offensive line, especially with Lamar back there running around. Like,
Yeah,
they couldn't penetrate that, you know, that offensive
well,
line.
they beat him soundly last time, pretty much. I mean, the Browns do seem to sometimes have Lamar's number better than some other teams I've seen. Sometimes they seem I mean, he has done a number on them too. Don't get me wrong, but they can beat that team. They can beat them.
Yeah,
Well, you know
Dolphins
what?
made a big difference.
Yeah, we can clinch this Thursday too. I think Flacco, like going into this next game, Flacco just needs to manage the game well. He's been throwing a lot of interceptions. I mean, let's not forget that. Like 2 games ago, he threw 3 interceptions and probably should have thrown 2 more at least. You know, that one that went through the defender's hands, and then I think it was Tillman who dropped it, or
Tillman.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but it's like I think
game,
we got to run Pierre Strong up the middle because he shoots like McCaffrey. He shoots through that line.
Yeah.
And, you know, our edge runners, Hunt and Ford, they stutter step. They follow their blockers, and then they find gaps. But we need to manage the game well, know when to throw, when to run. I love that we opened this game, first play of the game, Flacco bombing it, open up the field. They're not letting him stack the box because they know the game is a little bit suspect.
Yeah, that was very Bernie Kosar-esque. If you guys
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Kosar
it
days.
was so
Remember
perfect.
that?
Yeah.
Didn't that remind you of them days when Kosar would open up the game with them bombs to Slaughter and shit like that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Langhorn, Brennan.
Yeah, it was so much fun, man, back in those days. But this team does have a little bit of that flair to it. You're feeling that again. You're starting to make that feel. You know, another thing I was watching not long ago was those 80s playoff games and stuff like that. And the crowd. Man, I forget how insane the crowd was back then. And that's when everybody in the NFL said we had the greatest fans in the world, the greatest fans in the world. And people from everywhere said that. It's kind of not like that right now. And I think that it's going to take a team that just breaks through that, just like they are. They're breaking through the barriers. They've broken through the referee barriers that we've dealt with for years. They're somehow breaking through this injury thing, which I fucking don't understand how they're doing it, but they are. And
5 years ago, the season ends in week 2.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, right.
As soon as Chubb gets hurt, we're done.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. They never gave up. This team does not they do not have give up. And there's a camaraderie there that I think that we've never seen. You know, you wonder about Mayfield. This is where you wonder about Mayfield here, okay? This is where I wonder about Mayfield, okay? Is that if you want to talk about just pure talent and stuff, then there's arguments to be made about Mayfield. Is he good enough? Is he not good enough? He's had moments where he is. He's had moments where he isn't. There's an argument to be made. But one thing about Mayfield that I have noticed is that he could be a disruptive guy on a team. And this team doesn't have disruptive guys on it right now. And I don't know how Mayfield meshes on this team and what his presence on this team does to negatively affect what is actually going on this team. I've never seen such a tight group of dudes. This was like the 90s Indians when remember how tight, remember they were putting bubble gum on their heads and shit like that. They were like,
yeah.
This is like that group, right? You know what I mean? So I'm really excited about how this ends.
Yeah,
what do you guys think?
A defense like this when Mayfield was here. So the offense was, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and then the defense gets tired. We had a good defense. They would get tired and they would hold their own the first half, and then it was, then we would lose late in the game.
For sure.
Hey, I'm still here. Hold on. I'm still here.
I think that squad was playing for their next job when we won that playoff game in 20. A lot of them were gone right after that season.
Yeah,
I feel like he had to fight for his gig. Twice he was a walk-on and he won the starting job. And I feel like his attitude isn't quite what the rest of this team is, and I don't believe he would fit as well. I'm just happy he won a big game for us against the Jaguars recently.
Yeah, right.
I'm back.
It's been a long time since I could say that I fell in love with the Cleveland sports team. I always root for them, but there's always something about them that just turns me off, whether it's Mayfield or whether it's Johnny or whether it's Gerard Warren, or they always there's always something, or some coach, or you saw Hugh Jackson. There's always something about them that you just were like, man, fuck. And this year, it's like you just see the camaraderie. You see like the post game, Kevin Stefanski's doing his speech, and they're all hugging each other and high fiving each other, and it's you just can't help but just like say, you know what, this is the team I'm going to fall back in love with. It's been like, I feel like 1988, 87 all over again. Yeah, it's crazy. And I think a lot of people as Cleveland sports fans, we're all jaded. We all think the other shoe's going to drop. It's going to happen eventually, blah, 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 blah. But it's like the other shoe's been dropping all year long, and yet they keep saying, fuck that shoe, we're on to the next one. And they just keep winning, and they just keep doing it with all this, like, these backups, these cast-offs. It's special. Yeah, I hate using the word special, but it's special. And I'm really, really excited to see what happens in the playoffs. I'm not going to go there yet because this is Cleveland, but one game at a time. If we can win getting into the AFC Championship game is just going to be, this town's going to be insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a ton of people that we know and deal with in our daily lives that have never seen that. They've never, like, we all lived through that stuff. Remember, like, we all lived through it, and we were young then, and we were we were having a fucking blast during the 80s times, when the 80s were just fun in general, right? I mean, we just had fun in general, but that was so much fun. These people have never seen that before. They've seen baseball and basketball, but football, when the team is rocking here, is a totally different monster. And we're about to see that, I think, this year. I believe we're going to. And I think this podcast is right on time for it.
Hey, Big Bri, let us not forget when Myles Garrett was drafted, he publicly went on and asked Jerry Jones, please jump up in the draft and come and get me. He didn't want to come to Cleveland. He knew he could come to Cleveland. Look where he's at now. He loves it there. And everybody loves him. He is a team leader, and like Zadarius Smith and him together are sick. And that interior line, we're stopping it all, man. So, I mean, and that secondary, wow, man. Just everyone together, man. Newsom has been amazing, you know.
Yeah.
Generally, you know, Emerson's been really good.
JOK has really been great.
JOK's been sick. He's got the most in the NFL, the most tackles for loss.
Yeah.
So
that was the plan. I mean, the speed with him, that was the plan, you know, to outrun. Really, I think the plan with him was Jackson, Lamar Jackson. I think they got him because of Lamar fucking Jackson.
That's why we beat them in Baltimore.
I know. You know, you get I mean, I think that's
quarterbacks can't handle the heat that we bring.
Not right now. And what's real interesting to watch is when the backup quarterbacks are trying to do it. You know what I mean? When they go up against our line, it's insane, man. They're running for their lives, and rightfully so. I mean, that's how awesome they really are. So of all these, of all the injuries and all the things that have been going on, the one thing that's standing out in my head right now is this past game is really this year in general, Amari fucking Cooper. This guy has been like. Actually, and I hate to say this, and I'm gonna knock on wood before I even say this, but he's the one guy that scares me. That you know, amongst all this insanity that we've been dealing with, that's the one guy that scares me. That guy goes down. I don't know what's behind him that makes me feel good at all. You know what I'm saying? Except for Njoku, who's having a great year, but I don't think he can do it by himself.
But I got to interject. Njoku, Moore, and Cooper have dropped a lot of balls this year. You know, and it's like,
and so Bell supposed to have great hands. He's dropping them a lot.
Yeah, more than I would like to see. I agree, but Cooper definitely makes some clutch catches, man. No question about it.
We've been making a lot of brain mistakes this year. That's the thing. Garrett's notorious for jumping off sides, just jumping the count. You know, and it's like offsides on our offensive line. There's always somebody pulling up. So it's just like that. That comes down to coaching. Coaching needs to tell everyone, you know, there's got to be some repercussions if you're doing that on the usual, you know?
Yeah. I know. But I think in the NFL, there's very few repercussions for the superstars like him. Like, you know, when Garrett goes off sides, I think they're like, well, we didn't really see that. You know, I do think that happens.
Yeah, I see it sometimes. I'm like, I can't believe they didn't call that. Or lining up in the neutral zone. Garrett's always good for that.
Yeah.
It just drives me nuts. Just
and now they're calling it.
Look at the line judge and say, am I good? That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, now they're calling that, right? Now they're calling they're doing that now. They're calling that penalty now, lining up in the neutral zone more and more.
If we avoid the penalties and avoid turnovers, all we got to do is manage the game. Our defense will win the game.
For sure. But I'll tell you one thing that is kind of like another Brownsian type situation is the fact that our line is so incredibly dominant, our defensive line, and this is the year they're going to decide to stop calling holding. So I'm going to say this about the holding thing. They're calling it, but if you watch when they call it when there's not a quarterback situation involved. So like if it's like a screen pass, right? And the guy holding is the guy in front of the guy who caught the screen pass. As long as it's not protecting the quarterback, they'll call the holding penalty. But if it's a straight pocket, you know, situation and the guy's holding to protect the quarterback, they're keeping their flags in their pockets way more than usual. And that really isn't a good thing for us. Not really. Not the way we're built as a team.
Yeah.
You know?
It seems like they're not going to call a hold in that situation unless the offensive lineman is literally tackling the guy as he's running by him. Like it's got to be like super egregious. But then again, I watched that Bears game and Miles was getting headlocked and arm dragged the whole game, and those refs just sat there and just stared at it.
Yeah.
That was pretty sad.
It's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. It is. It has been. It has been a weird season. I got to say, it's been like such a bittersweet season, up and down roller coaster type year. Really, it has been. But we've won a lot of more games than we usually do. 10 already. With 2 more to play. I mean, we could come out of this thing with 12 wins. That's insane.
Haven't done that since 1986.
We still have a chance to be number 1 in the AFC if it goes our way.
Well, yeah.
Miami and Baltimore both need to lose out. We need to win out.
Well, I saw that game last night, and I thought that we had a chance. But that team that showed up last night, man, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
To me, that would make it even better to actually meet Baltimore in the playoffs, having Flacco at quarterback and beat them.
Yeah,
in Baltimore too.
Baltimore.
I agree with you, man. I think the drama that's built up in this whole scenario, if it plays out a certain way, could be just. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it lines up. As far as could they play in the championship game or not, I don't know. But it's still it's an amazing situation that could really play out wild, man.
As it is now, we would go against Jacksonville, I believe.
That's good.
We just
kicked
the shit out of 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm not afraid
especially
of
with Heather Locklear injured right now.
The Prince,
Sunshine.
I mean, if they even win the division at this point.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
7,
Yeah, that's isn't it wild? And if like Cleveland was in the NFC, man, their record would just put them. They'd be killing it right now.
2nd seed probably.
Yeah, behind the 49ers.
Yep.
So let me ask you guys this question now. Okay, so I'm sure you guys all listen to talk radio, right? We're all, 92.3, that kind of thing, right? Mostly. Yeah. And we hear a lot of the people who this season have been calling it last season and every season except maybe the first one for Stefanski's head, right? Like, you're it seems like you're on one side of this fence or you're on the other side. And Cleveland fans, we all know are definitely, they can be kind of fair weather. I mean, they've been known once in a while to flip back and forth on their sides and stuff. Where do you guys stand on with this dude? I mean, this guy, let's just be honest. He does some things sometimes that make me scratch my head, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? But I think everybody does that, right? Like, every coach has those moments. I mean, let's be honest. Andy Reid right now is not figuring some things out that he was, and he's on the highest of pedestals right now. Belichick's not exactly lighting things up right now, is he? You know what I'm saying? So every dog has their day. What do you guys think about this cat? I mean, like, what's your overall opinion? He is a little different. What do you think? Let's start with you. Let's start with you, Dan. You start with you.
So, I've been on Team Stefanski from the moment he got hired. I'm just a big fan of what he does, what he brings to the offense. If you think about it, you go back to when he got hired in, and you had Baker, who was coming off a really shitty season, and with COVID and everything like that, and he still wins 11 games, wins a playoff game in Pittsburgh. Had to start two more quarterbacks that year. He had to start Mullins one game. I think he had to start Keenum in 2. And then the next year they get rid of Baker. Watson suspended. They have Brissett. Dobbs is hanging around. Watson's, rusty when he comes in, and yet they were 7-10. And, all these guys, look at this year, 4 quarterbacks, and they all won a game. When's the last time you could say that a starting quarterback for the Browns came in their first game and won? How many cast of characters going all the way back to the, Jeff Garcia and Kelly Holcomb and all these jabronis. And all these guys were like blips on the radar screen. And now it seems like, I don't know what it is. And sometimes it's not pretty, but Kevin just seems to bring out the best in his guys. Yeah, sometimes he makes a play call that you scratch your head, but It's par for the course for the NFL. You know, nobody's ever going to call a perfect game, and if half those plays get pulled off, you know, then we're celebrating the genius of Kevin Stefanski, and nobody's, you know, oh, they need to fire him. They went for a pass on 3rd and 1 instead of a run. Oh, okay. And if he hits the pass and it goes for 40 yards, guess what? He's a genius. There's a fine line between genius and insanity. And I'm drinking the Stefanski Kool-Aid. I'm coach of the year in my opinion.
Hey, Jeff, does he deserve of a contract extension? Do you think? You think they should? Is that something you see happening, or do you think it's deserving?
I think he deserves a contract extension. I wish he would co-call the games with AVP a little bit more. I think some of the run plays are a little, what are you doing? And then the Seattle game, had they done that, everybody pushed the running back play, we win that game. We needed 1 first down. And Walker tried to throw the game away in San Francisco. We threw into triple coverage, and in the Seattle game, it definitely happened.
Yeah.
And it's just some things make you scratch your head big time. I think he should be the head coach. I think he's a good play caller. I just think he has moments that are stunning in their futility.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Don, I have a question for you. Now, aside from all the other fucking shit that you're a personal trainer also. Like, there's like the list is like Santa Claus's list for like a 4-year-old on Christmas, right? And you know, I was wondering, you know, I'm like, you're seeing all these injuries this year, and there's a lot of things that kind of coincide with what we're seeing, because it's not just exclusive with the Browns. I think we're seeing a lot of injuries NFL wide. It's just the Browns have just piled on. But, you know, with a lot of the new rules from the collective bargaining and stuff like that, as far as these guys, how they work out in the preseasons and stuff like that, are you know, no hitting anymore, no pads, you know, light hitting, blah, 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 shortened, stuff like that. How much of the body, like you know, you're talking this violent stuff that's going on in football. Why do you think there's an uptick in the injuries? Is there something to this? Is there a scientific reason for this or something? Or is it just something that I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
I think the NFL is so soft anymore. Tom Brady had it right, you know, and he was talking about how ridiculous it is. Like, the bottom line is they got to let them play football. Like, everybody's so protected, and they don't even play the starters in the preseason. They come in here, they don't even get any warm-up time. They go and they get thrown into the quickness of, you know, a real game, and people get injured. And it's just the nature of this business. The thing is that the spotlight's on it because these guys are making $36 or $40 million a year, whatever they're making. So it becomes like, oh my gosh, you know, like Deshaun Watson's out for the year, you know, and that's the drawback to it. It's next man up. And we're seeing, like, a good small market baseball team like the Kansas City Royals had that same type of thing. They won a World Series and they had next man up mentality, and they didn't have the big stars when they did it. And the Tribe's also been like that, very much so, depending on their farm system, and have depth. The Browns have depth this year. You know, for once, we've got a lot of depth. And if I could just, you guys were talking about Kevin Stefanski. Do we think he should stick around? I wanted to actually comment on that. Like, Kevin Stefanski, in my opinion, is the second best coach, and maybe third. I like Shanahan a lot, but Tomlin, to me, you go, 16, 17 years coaching a team, and they never play less than 500. I mean, it's hard to argue that. But Kevin Stefanski, we criticize him sometimes because a play doesn't work or whatever. But, like, it's oftentimes the plays aren't being executed properly the way they were supposed to. Or there's some mistakes being made. It's not always on the coach. Maybe it's right. 3rd and 1. Hey, we only need 1 yard. But they know a play action fake that, you know, catching Njoku in the flat's going to be there, and it's an easier than going right up the gut when they have it stacked, the box stacked against us, you know. So maybe Stefanski knows some things that maybe we don't know because he is so analytical, and maybe sometimes he does overthink. But he's a really good coach.
Definitely, and he's definitely proven to be really good at getting the most out of guys who not necessarily you would even think. I mean, there's so many overachievers on this team right now. I mean, these guys are just playing their asses off and wanting to, and the way they preach this whole entire thing that this dude That's all he's ever preached. Now they're all talking like him and that's the sign that this is like it's gone crazy now, like.
Well, the coaching carousel also needed to be filled. We had to get Woods out of there. Schwartz coming in. That defense is solid. They listen to him. You got to have the right coaching staff. And now I think Stefanski's a better coach because the defense is taken care of. Yeah. He doesn't worry so much about them. Schwartz is he's a king on that, So
yeah. He's brought I hate to say this, but he's brought an identity to this team. Schwartz did.
Oh,
he
definitely swag, definitely.
Yeah, and he preaches that. I love that. And it's kind of weird because it's something that I normally don't care for, but for some reason, because the coach is the one pushing for it, I'm like, oh, fuck it, I like it now.
Yeah, 100%.
As long as it's working, I'll swag your ass off. I don't care. But if you're swagging and you're getting your asses kicked, then it's going to get old real fast. And they're backing it up with their play. So I like that.
Yeah. So we got a real interesting game Thursday, right? And we got the short week, which always makes for an interesting situation in football. Playing a game that at the beginning of the season looked like it could be a super cool game with Aaron Rodgers, and all the situation going on with that. Not unfortunately, very fortunately, I guess, but in a way, I don't think this is going to be much of a game. I honestly don't. I could be totally wrong. It's the NFL. Crazy things happen.
Yeah, we thought that last year, though.
Yeah.
Get back and beat us with
I know.
Yeah.
With Flacco.
With Flacco, a quarterback,
with fucking
Flacco. Beat us. Good call on that one, Dan. Yes.
I just think that when they play these backup quarterbacks, this defensive line is just unbelievably stifling, and it's going to be hard to beat a team with a line like they have. And let's lock on wood again. If that part can just stay healthy, this team has a chance to win every single Sunday, no matter who they're playing. That they're that dominating. That's Smith. It's obvious what happened this past Sunday. They decided to just concentrate completely on Garrett and say, no matter what, I don't care how many people it takes, that dude's not beating us. And you see the price you pay when you decide that that's the route you're going to go. You can't do that.
Yeah, Big Bri, we got three things going for us. We're going to be at home on Thursday. Trevor Simeon's the quarterback. He does not react well to high-pressure defenses. He makes bad decisions in the heat. And we got Cleveland Browns defense at home. Yeah. Manage the game, Flacco. Manage the game, Stefanski, and we win. We're in the playoffs.
Yeah, man, 11 wins is guaranteed. Yeah, we're in. We win. Yeah. Actually, we're probably in anyways. I don't want to say
that. Yeah, right.
We all sound like we said. It's Cleveland. You never know.
Cleveland.
Oh.
You just don't know, man. But it is an interesting thing. Now, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I'm really hopeful that Elijah Moore has a big game, and with Flacco playing their former team, because a lot of times that'll happen too. They'll want to really do well against who would let them go.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. Now, let's pretend that we're in the playoffs. I know it's kind of jumping the gun a little in Cleveland, but I'm just curious. Now, are we going to see a bunch of fucking stands on all the corners selling T-shirts like we did in the '80s and stuff like that again? Is that all going to come back? Are we going to start seeing that whole entire uplift of the insanity that we saw before? People walking down the streets wearing garb, high-fiving each other. Like, do you remember that? Man, that was the way it was back in the '80s when we were good. I want to just say this one thing. The biggest difference between now and then, what happened in Cleveland is not supposed to happen in sports. As a fan, you're never supposed to go 25 or plus years, not just being like not the best, but not even being in the middle. You know what I mean? Like we weren't even that team. And so it's not supposed to happen. And it molds you as a fan into something that it's not supposed to happen. And that's why you see the cynicism. That's why you see these people who are just, they don't know how to act. Like you don't know how to act. Like something good happens and you don't even know how to react half the time as a Browns fan. You just don't even know how to react because we know why? Because every time something good happens as a Browns fan, there's a yellow flag. And that's usually what happens every single time. You're looking down at the corner of your screen because you know that yellow thing's popping up somewhere. And that's why it made it so funny when Mahomes freaked out about that offsides. I was like, dude, we get that every game.
Yeah.
For 20 years I've been watching that.
Hey, Jeff's known for venting online about the non-calls and the penalties.
Definitely.
Me too.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely been weird. It's definitely been some weird stuff, especially with replay. You'd think they'd be better, but it is what it is, man.
Did you guys see Rodney Rose's song?
Yes.
Huh.
That's awesome. Rodney, he's a good friend of ours. He had 252 tattoo. He came up with a great Browns song with video, and it's awesome. And I think the Browns Instagram page posted it. He got all kinds of hits on it.
I'll have it.
wow.
I'll have it for the next show. We'll play it.
It's
Awesome.
clever.
Yeah. We'll just
You
play.
did a good job.
Yeah, really good. So yeah, the 80s. There's going to be all kinds of songs coming. There's going to be T-shirts, all kinds of attire. There's going to be all kinds of catch slogans everywhere.
Helmets
man,
on the monuments downtown again.
Yeah, I hope. I just hope, man, because that's the stuff that I miss. You know, like I miss also like every Sunday, even if you lost the week before, you still had hope. And you still were like rabid in the morning. Like it's one of the differences now is like there's no plain dealer. The plain dealer was cool, man. You always had the extra page, the extra section, and you always the brown section, and like you'd be taking a shit in the morning, and that thing would be like you know.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
The greatest thing about Sunday was you're on the toilet, but you had the section.
Yeah,
And
but when they lost Monday's paper, you wiped your ass with that thing.
Hell yeah, man! But that's the way it was too, man. And everybody wasn't so quick to hate on the Browns. You just hated the other team. There wasn't all this dissension and hatred, and you know, you had people who weren't crazy about Bernie, but they were shut down immediately, and there was very little of that even tolerated. Now it's just, man, it's so crazy. Let's talk about Watson for a minute since we're on that case, because that's such a hot topic, and let's just get it out, you know, a little bit about how we all feel about that. And I think we all actually share a lot of opinions with each other, very positive about this team and that kind of thing. So I'm just curious though about Watson. It's an interesting situation. Guy's getting paid a lot of money, obviously. Had a great career up until the point where we got him. Hasn't been lighting it up exactly since we got him, although he is 8-4 with the Browns, which is kind of ironic. And so here we are with the Flacco situation, and adds another Browns twist into the whole situation. What's your thoughts on Flacco? We'll start with Jeff. What's your thought? What's your thought on Flacco, on Watson? What's your thoughts?
I think Flacco's amazing, and it's lightning in a bottle. And the guy was on his couch watching football with his kids, and now he gets to star for the Browns and have them get to see it, and he's thrilled about that. And he's doing it in the AFC North, and it means the world to him just in that aspect. But I think he's going to be 39 unless he already is.
January 6th.
Watson's in his prime, and if he'd been healthy, we'd probably be 13-2. Everybody wants to bash on him for his play, but he won 3 games. People forget Cincinnati. And then he was taking the hits that were revenge hits, especially the one with Arden Key wasting his shoulder. And he'll be the quarterback next year, and people want to like rip on him. Well, we're winning. We're 10-5. Focus on this amazing season we're having, and get off Watson. He paid his penance.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Don? What's your Watson opinion?
I like Watson, but I mean Flacco, man. There's just a different flavor to him, man. He's so much more fun to watch, and he's not even a RPO type quarterback. You know, he doesn't have that run pass option. It's just pretty much pass or kind of scribble around a little bit and at least throw it away. He makes good decisions whenever there's heat coming on him. But I've never been one like, hey, this guy's our starter, no matter, because we paid him a lot. Like if Watson's not playing well next year, if somebody's, you know, in the wings waiting, I mean, play who's gonna win the games. We're Cleveland Browns fans. We want to win, and hey, maybe Andrew Berry made a mistake, you know, in the long run, but we got to play who's hot, you know? So like, if it means, you know, sitting him and, you know, like what if he came back and he's like ready to go right now?
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
It's definitely a point of view that people are taking. I mean, like you definitely have people who have the point of view of, hey, best man should be out there regardless of any other pressures about any other situation. It should just be the hot hand goes. And
yeah, but you hear sports talk radio, so many people are like, we paid him all that money, we have to play him. It's like, well, that's just the dumbest thing I could ever.
Well, let me just say this before I get to Dan about this, because okay. I will say this. So one thing I don't think people realize about that situation is how I think that went down. And the way I believe that situation went down was this. Nobody thought that Baker Mayfield was the best quarterback in the NFL at the time on the Cleveland Browns. I think that when that happens, you shop for a guy who can improve your team no matter what position it is. They get wind, Baker gets wind of the fact that they're shopping for this quarterback, this possibility that Watson becomes available, and Baker blows a gasket and says he doesn't want to play for the team anymore. The owner, who feels bad about the situation because this is the owner's mingling, I believe, that created this whole situation to begin with. I want this shiny quarterback over here, not the guy who's broken over here. And then all of a sudden, he goes to do this, and Baker says, no, I'm not talking to you, which enrages the billionaire. And then all of a sudden, you sign that guy. You sign him for anything it takes, no matter what. I'm not going without a quarterback. And now we're stuck with Watson.
Baker was getting paid $1 million a game. He shouldn't have had a vote.
But that's how I agree. But that's not how sports works anymore. Like, these guys get a vote. They scream and yell, and they get what they want. I truly believe that's how it went down. I don't believe that Andrew Berry said, hey, I got this great idea. Let's give this guy a guaranteed contract. And I don't think that's how it went down. And so I think that's how it went. And I think that makes it interesting. I truly, truly believe that makes it a very interesting situation. And I think that's also what makes the situation with Flacco even more interesting. Is this guy's 38 years old and nobody even wanted this dude, and that's the guy who's taking us to the fucking promised land.
Fourth string.
It's crazy, man.
I love it.
So, Dan, what's your opinion on Watson?
Well, I've been on the Watson train from when he was in Clemson, and I really, really wanted the Browns to draft him at 12. I was really pissed that they traded away from him. Back then, if you would have said you were going to get Garrett and Watson in the same draft, I would have done a backflip, and you had the opportunity and you blew it. So fast forward, and Baker Mayfield, has an up and down, mostly a down year. He's griping to the media, he's griping about coaches, throwing his teammates under the bus. It was clear that Barry and Stefanski wanted somebody that was their own. And I do think that Mayfield pouting and saying he wanted to trade did kind of exacerbate the contract terms for Watson, to make sure that they got him and they weren't left, empty-handed and having to settle for like a Matt Ryan or whoever else. I did see some good signs out of Watson before he got hurt. It sucks that, he basically was battling injuries from the get-go this year. And I don't think we ever really saw the full potential. We saw some highlights. He brought him here to win games, and he won games. But that being said, Flacco's he's got the hot hand right now, and everything's clicking and everything's working well. And you got to ride that hand out and see how it goes. But next year, to me, Deshaun Watson's the quarterback of this team, regardless of what happens. You can't justifiably say, all right, I'm going to go with this 39-year-old going on 40 guy who we plucked off of his couch and had this miracle run to the AFC Championship. I'll stop there.
Yeah. No, that's still. I hear what you're saying. No, that's cool.
You can't. It'd be nice if you could bring him back as a backup. And have that insurance policy. That'd be nice. Yeah. But to me, it's unless Deshaun Watson can't come back from that shoulder as well, and it's just like he's just playing like complete ass.
Yeah,
he's the starter of this team in 2024. And I got in an argument with somebody about this on the internet today, who didn't want to hear it. Oh, Joe Flacco is going to be the quarterback of this team. Like, no, he's not. He'll be lucky to be in the NFL next year.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. It is true. And that's what Don was just saying a little bit ago, is that seems to be a mindset of this entire NFL, which seems to be kind of productive to the idea of best guy up instead of this idea that there's other circumstances that dictate that it shouldn't maybe come down to that. I think that's the other point of view of how that works. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. And I have to agree, Watson will be the starter.
I wanted to say one last thing on the quarterback situation. I'm so glad we didn't get Jacoby back for that 7th
Yes.
round pick, or we never would have seen Flacco.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
and this is really an amazing.
Thanks, Ron
situation.
Rivera.
Yeah.
Hey, you
For
know
not-
another
yeah.
thing? Everybody was pissed off that
I'm not giving him up.
we sent what's his name to the
Dobbs.
Cardinals,
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
And Josh Dobbs had 2 good games in Minnesota and just shit the bed after that. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, we can always look back and be like, oh, see, we should have done that. And Andrew Barry should have seen the talent. None of us would have picked Joe Flacco over, you know, Josh Dobbs or even, you know, taking DTR. DTR was lighting it up in the preseason. I like DTR. I was okay with the move with
He was
Dobbs.
doing good in the Denver game. They just hit him to the head.
He's
Yeah.
really fragile, though, man. I could see he's going to get hurt a lot in the NFL. That sucks.
Well, yeah.
No,
He's not a big guy, and he is his game is predicated on his legs.
Yeah.
And if you're small and you're relying on your mobility to succeed, you're not going to have a long shelf life.
Yeah.
Switch
I
him
like
to
how
receiver.
they've been mixing him in, though. You know, like
Yeah.
third one, you got the RPO, that option, you know, and that's cool.
Yeah.
I like.
Oh, I love it. I love that they're working him in.
Yeah.
No,
I think PJ Walker can also do that for us. You know, when what Flacco can't do on a 3rd and short, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're going to have to now. DTR's on IR.
I know. That's
Harrison
Yeah, I
Bryant.
mean, yeah.
yeah.
Harrison Bryant.
Hey,
They're
what
doing
about this
him with the
kicker
Wildcats.
situation, though? The kicker situation, I heard Harrison Bryant could have kicked a field goal, like at the
I
end of
didn't
the
hear
first half. we were close. I think they could have. They had 5 seconds left. We're at like the 25. The secondary dropped back in Houston. We could have just run a quick 7-yard out pattern. There could have been 1-2 seconds left, and hey, I think Bryant could have come in and at least attempted a field goal just before half. I was pushing for it, but I was like, oh man, that little Hail Mary at the end. Wasn't.
It was a
That
weird.
was
That
the
was
question
a
I
strange, weird game, man. Weird game with no kicker.
Yeah.
We should be able to carry an extra kicker. I don't know why you're not allowed. I mean,
I'm glad they have one now.
yeah.
So the Jets haven't announced the starting quarterback yet, right?
Yeah.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
Simeon.
Simeon.
So they did announce it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zach Martin's out as of today.
So what are we thinking? I mean, like, I mean, are we pretty comfortable at home, even on a short rest
Yeah,
with this team? I mean, they got a good defense. I mean, I don't. It's not like they totally suck. It's just
they got a really good defense.
yeah, they got a good coach, good defense. I mean, they're definitely not. I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, they were a contending team. It's you know what I mean. But without him, they're very beatable. And,
I hope they line Sauce Gardner up against Amari Cooper. Cooper's a great route runner. I think if he opens up that secondary, I think, man, that could even open up our running game, you know, because they're going to have to drop out of the box to, you know, to get on, double up on some of these wideouts.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I just think that, you know, little by little, I mean, you just got to hope that the injury thing stops. We're done. I mean, that's enough already. Like, can we stop now? Enough.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't. We're getting to that point where you're almost wondering, like, how much more can you take? I mean, what's the straw that breaks the camel's back? At some point, you wonder where it's at, and it's amazing we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So, I want to just say that this podcast will definitely it'll change as we go through it. This was the first one. I want people to become more accustomed. And we did get a few people here talking to us on the chat thing and stuff like that. I do think it's a good idea if we get some guests on here. I can get some clips of things and stuff like that and play them. There's a song like that, like stuff like that. I'll put a video up here or whatever. I don't care if they hit us for some kind of copyright. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who really cares, anyways?
Not after us.
No, really, they're not.
We're not
And
making money off.
well, I've dealt with the copyright thing before on YouTube. It's hilarious.
You could do the Rodney Rose clip because he's my friend, and
Yeah, he'll put. Yeah,
he
he'll
would love
okay.
it.
Yeah,
He'd
you know,
get a kick out of it. I know he would.
Yeah, and that's his song.
well,
He would love it.
it's what's funny is I would do these interviews on these podcasts, and if I'd play some of their music at the beginning of the podcast when I first started doing them, I'd play music, and then I'd get hit with these copyright things because these bands have their stuff copyrighted, and somehow they would catch it and they'd hit me on it, and I'd be like, well, no, I just interviewed him. Like, he said it was okay, and they'd be like,
Right.
still no.
Wow.
You know what? Rodney Rose would be good to have on the show. Actually, Rodney tattooed a lot of the Browns. You know, he did
that would be cool. Oh yeah,
sleeve. You know, he you know, a lot of, you know, he's got a lot of inside scoop. He's still good friends with what's his name? With Ryan Tucker and yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. That would be a great guest.
Yeah.
Shade.
That's the kind of and like as far as guests go, we will definitely have guests on here also. People want to come on and talk with us. That's no problem. Anybody that wants to, that's a Browns fan. That's what this is about. We're trying to create a little Browns heavy metal community, if you so to speak. You know what I mean? And put us all out there together. And this is the year to do it. Hopefully, this is the year to do it, man. And
we're back.
Feels like it.
Yeah, for a change, right? We're back.
Look, we're two games up on the Steelers and the Bengals going into Week 16. Man, that's amazing.
Well, that's another thing. You got the Bengals closing the year off this year, and that's another strange scenario with him going down, with Burrow going out like that and everything, and they're still
no
winning.
Jamar Chase.
Nope.
Yeah, right.
And they're still winning.
That's a good matchup for the Browns against Cincinnati. We would have them at home in the playoffs if that worked out, you know.
I do love beating up on Cincinnati. That's just a team. I have no idea why I do, but I do. It's like there's just some teams that you just like slapping them around. Cincinnati's one of them.
Sam White's just meltdown. Right?
Yeah.
You don't live in Cleveland.
That's why.
Yeah.
Is that when all the hatred began? I remember.
Yeah.
Him and Chris Collinsworth. I know there's another
Oh,
one.
Collinsworth,
Oh my God. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Well, Collinsworth likes the Browns now.
Oh yeah, he's changed over the years, but in the beginning, man, he would get on there and he was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, real quick, I know what I want to talk real quick about. We got like 2 or 3 minutes left here. Let's talk about some of these guys who do this 92.3 and stuff like that. Some of these other dudes doing basically what we're doing right now. You guys listen to 92.3. Some of these dudes, what do you think about, like, is there any of them guys that you just listen to and you're just kind of like cringe? You get kind of like, you're just like, this fucking guy. Is there a guy that kind of gives you that feeling from 92 or any of that, anywhere?
Nick Wilson.
Nick Wilson. Afternoon.
Can't stand him.
Yes. He's with the Fox.
Guy is just like, stop already. He's like, I'm the other dude that Dustin Fox should talk more. I don't know how Nick Wilson has a lead.
I like
Dustin Fox making fun of the dude the whole time. It's like, yeah, you're trying to make jokes. You're corny. Talk about sports.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, how do you feel about Nick Wilson? You know who Nick Wilson is? He's up. He's in the evening. He's like what? It starts at like
drive.
Yeah, it starts at like
2 to 7.
I like Carmen and Lima. They're great.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah, I like Carmen.
Even Phelps and
Phelps and
Baskins, Andy Baskins.
Baskin and Phelps.
Baskin and Phelps.
Good. And then 2 o'clock it goes to hell. They should have brought in Garrett Bush, in my opinion.
Yeah, G. Bush is my favorite.
A little bit.
Yeah.
He's good.
Well, he tells it like it is. He just doesn't care.
He knows what's up. He played. He knows the sport.
Yeah. I like G. Bush. I really do.
It's usually not dumb. The barbershop should have been afternoon drive with guest Dustin Fox.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's about all the time we got, man. That was an hour.
Yeah, man.
Our first show, man. What'd you guys think? Pretty good time?
I think
it?
Super Bowl, Super Browns.
All right. Yeah, man. Should be an interesting season, man. I want to thank you guys for watching. And we'll be back here. We'll be back here next Tuesday.
See you at
8:30,
Brian.
Yeah, and Thursday I'll be doing a show. Now Thursday, because of the game, I'm only going to do it from 7 to 8, and I'm going to have you come on at like 7:45, a little bit before 8 o'clock, and we'll talk about. And from now on, when we do that show, me and Jeff are just going to basically talk about this show, and just get this show a little hyped up and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just gonna do like an hour before the game. I'm not doing that fucking show during the game. I'm gonna watch the game. So.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
I'll see you guys. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
Level up, Cleveland.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Woof, woof. Right,
Love it.